the number one Florida State Seminoles, the number one class in the ACC in 2022. We will outline the two most recent editions, of course, here at the Voice of College Football. Florida State Seminoles Live, number 117.
Good call.
And if you go back about 50 editions, you would hear Jason Parker bragging about being perfect in his record of attendance here. That was a long time ago, and that record has been ditched and just obliterated and is a complete dumpster fire now. Logan Robinson, though, on quite a run himself. I'm going to guess 42 in a row. I don't know. I'm throwing out a number. Man. It might be better than that. I don't know.
What do you think?
I think I've been on more shows than both of you combined. I think.
I don't know about that.
Sure, we'll have to look at the math. We'll get to the math portion of that later on, but I'm pretty sure.
Logan and I, but we made the special edition show. Logan and I.
You did.
It was the Drive to Dallas edition. That was
that one, but there was one before that. There was one like a year before that where we did a special edition show that Logan and I showed up for.
It was the one show I literally had to do all by myself because Logan was too drunk to show up and you weren't there for it.
Too drunk.
That was
right. Show number 117 is already going to be officially known to the viewers as the whining show.
Correct.
Because that's where we're starting right now. But we've got actually Florida State football to talk about. And about 1 week from right now, we'll be really previewing fall camp. But we'll take a look ahead and see what these guys think about what the boys will need to work on come August. But Jason, how are we doing tonight?
I'm doing good. I do have a quick question for Logan. Anyone who follows Logan on Instagram, follows Noel Game on Instagram, it's usually a solid follow. Did you get rid of all the free 100 wristbands? Did you get rid of them all, or what happened?
No, they're sitting right over here. Those are going to be mailed out, and I actually thought about both of y'all, but we're going to wait until I actually have a car to be able to ship things with the hat involved. Yeah. So we'll be waiting for y'all's shipment.
You could just throw it down from the Champions Club at the Notre Dame game.
I could, or if you, I'll be actually down with you in there. So I'll be down there in the bowl with the peasants, and I can just toss it to you over in the section.
Folks, remember what he just called you. He called you peasants.
You've called yourself a peasant.
I admit, I'm a cheap peasant, but I'll make sure I'll take one of those right there. I told him, you send it, I will wear that for the Notre Dame game. I promise.
The what? The hat or the wristband?
I'll wear both. I will rock them.
And I can get you to wear the 3 and 6 Mafia.
Right here, 3-6 Mafia right there. And then real quick, I do want to give a shout out to one of our loyal viewers, Myron, who I saw him at the Marlins game. Writes in here all the time.
Nice.
He was wearing Florida State stuff. We were at the Marlins game on Sunday. He was there, so shout out. Told him I'd give him a shout out. Shout out to Myron. He called me pessimistic about my Norvell. He is 100% correct. So let's get this party started.
Did he spot you somewhere? Is that what happened, like at the game?
So we were walking, and of course, spoiler alert, I'm wearing Florida State stuff. And he was wearing a Florida State shirt too. And he's like, I know you. You're on MarkRogersTV. I'm like, you do know me. So when we were talking for a while, and he actually gave me a comment, which we will talk about later on in the show, about how college football is going to hell thanks to the SEC. We'll talk about that later on in the show. But he made an interesting comment. We'll talk about that later, about what Florida State could possibly do.
I hate to bring this up after 117 shows. I feel really bad that I'm just now bringing this up, but I forgot to warn both of you that if you guys really committed to this show and we were going to do it this long, that you guys are going to just start to get mobbed in public. I forgot to warn you about that was going to be kind of a downside to doing this.
It's about the fourth different fan who's come up to me and said, we love you, Jason. You need something better. You need to be better. Don't be hampered by Logan. You know, we miss Big Game James. A lot of people miss Big Game James. James, come back to us.
He's supposed to give us some nuggets today.
The next time somebody gives you that comment in public, I want you to get that on video. You turn on the phone. I need evidence of that one.
I'll record it right there.
Yeah, record that one. All right, folks, dive into the live chat. Leave your comments, your questions, your debate topics for Logan, Jason, and myself, of course, with 2 more commits into the fold. And so we've got a total of 17 hard commits for the 8th rated class in the country, according to 247 Sports, number 1 in the ACC. And I'm going to have to carve through all these names to figure out the two latest. So you said Daniel Lyons, correct?
Yeah, Daniel Lyon, who's a defensive
and
lineman.
Daughtry Richardson. I actually did videos on both of these guys.
Then
All right.
Then you should.
Where do we want to start, Logan?
Where do you want to go, Jason? Since the one's in Miami,
this is your moment. I mean, both the guys are from South Florida. I'll talk about that in a moment. But we're going to give Logan his moment to shine. This is the stuff. I guarantee you, Logan crip walked all the way to the bar on his leg. Logan, this is your moment. Some people wait a lifetime for a moment like this. Yeah.
South Florida guys, Jason, your favorite. I mean, you had to have been celebrating, popping off the champagne. You just love to see it. You know, you're able to grab Daughtry Richardson, which we got some intel on that he was planning on doing this, got a whole commitment interview set up with him. And this is a guy that probably is going to be your day one starter, but brings in some great depth, is a year 2, year 3 kind of guy. As actually a little bit slimmer as a guy. Some of the guys that'll be coming into FSU's class next year as an offensive lineman, they'll be working. Coach Storms will be working on them, trimming him down a little bit. On the other case for Richardson, Storms will be working to put some meat on him a little bit, but he's quick with his feet. He's definitely a pure offensive tackle. He's a tall guy too, moves smoothly. So Daughtry Richardson is a Knoll, and FSU fans love to take it away from Miami fans down south, and then they just decide to do it again. FSU and Norvell, about 3-4 minutes after Richardson announces his commitment on Instagram, Lyons decides to commit on the spot in Tallahassee with about 10 of his family members there. Video showing of him coming out of the tunnel, celebrating, and the staff being happy about him committing to Florida State. And, that helps a little bit in that interior defensive tackle position group. Odell Higgins grabs one. He gets to go fishing this weekend to celebrate, but that's another guy that these are solid pickups. I think more depth than anything, but definitely Lyons in that nose tackle position will be nice to have, and it's always nice to grab two guys back to back in a matter of 5 minutes from Miami. And Miami. That's a whole another discussion. We've done it enough on here, but Miami's in an interesting spot right now. It's just not looking so pretty. If they don't have a good football season, I think they're going back down their 5-6 year streak of Dookie, and it's not even it's just realistic at this point. They have to have a good football season.
The words you're looking for is dumpster fire when we're talking about what Miami's recruiting class looks like right now.
Yeah.
Question for you: Richardson obviously is actually a Tallahassee guy. Went to Godby High School. Then he transferred down here to South Florida, went to Edison for one season, and then just transferred to Miami Central, which is the reigning 6A state champions. Did you get any intel about what led to the move from you're going from Tallahassee all the way to Miami, and then you're going to commit to FSU? What was the reasoning behind the move to South Florida?
I'll have to look at Dustin's interview with him. I didn't get the intel on what he's doing because he played here in Tallahassee with Godby, if I'm correct, and then he moves down to South Florida to play with Miami Central, which think is going to help him a lot. You're going to play against some really serious talent, definitely as an offensive tackle facing, South Florida really generates a lot of talent there, definitely a defensive tackle. So he's going to have his work cut out for him. I like that he's going down there to kind of, he's going to have a lot of training. He's going to get better. He's going to have to get a lot better. He's going to have to put on some pounds too. But I didn't really get the intel on that, but I like that it's a Miami Central. He's going there. As we know, a few FSU Cats have been pretty successful there, and you got to like to see that he's going to be facing some serious talent moving down south in that area.
William, I know full and well that we're not getting wristbands. He's going to come up with every excuse in the book to never ever send us a wristband. Now, the biggest recruiting news. Let's talk about it, Logan. How much can Florida State read into this? And I know people are going to call us. People are going to be pessimistic about this, but how much can we read into the fact that all of a sudden this past weekend, a certain somebody from a certain school in Broward County, whose dad was a certain Butkus Award-winning linebacker for Florida State in the early 90s, is a man by the name of Marvin Jones Jr. from American Heritage down here in Plantation. He was in Tallahassee. How much can we read into that?
Once again, he's here. Last time he came was with his mom. This time his dad arrives with him, which he hasn't really done a lot with, which is kind of surprising maybe. Both him and his dad haven't really gone on really many visits together, and this is really a true kind of official visit set up for Marvin Jones Jr. and Shade Tree himself, by far the best linebacker that came through Florida State. And so having Dad there is gigantic. That's why FSU Twitter was very happy about receiving that news that those two were going to be tag teaming that visit to go visit Norvell and the rest of the FSU staff. It's crazy to think, you're watching out for Ohio State, Ohio State, you're looking out for the Alabamas, but Florida State just seems to keep on getting him to come to FSU, which is a fantastic sign. I can't remember the last time he's gone to actually visit other schools outside of Florida, except for Miami. And, he just keeps on coming to FSU. And, there was some pictures released today that he shared, of the whole entire staff, GAs, friggin' assistants. They got the film crew. They got the janitors taking pictures with them. It goes to show that this staff, this is the number one target that Florida State is after. And it makes sense. This is going to be a 5-star blue chip defensive end target. And you obviously want to land a legacy commit. And I love seeing, the best thing about this, you're looking at Odell Hagens hanging out with Shade Tree. You're looking at Ron Dugans with Shade Tree. You got a lot of former Noles able to be there. And you've got Mike Norvell, who's just doing a fantastic job. You're looking at, this doesn't have to go to Coach Atkins, but you've also got him there. You've got Randy Shannon, who's also on staff. Barta, it's just kind of filling up. And the amount of surge they're trying to get with Marvin Jones Jr. right now. So I think we'll hear more. I think Nate's going to give us a rundown on how that goes. He's connected there with Shade Tree and going to get some rundown on how successful that trip was. And so, but it's still got a long ways to go. His commitment isn't going to happen until near close to signing day. This is as it should be. This is an extremely talented.
He's taking an official visit, obviously, for the Florida State Miami game. He'll be there. Yeah, I think that's a December signing day, NBC6 live at American Heritage.
Yeah.
I'll make sure we're live for that one.
It will be. I might need to travel down there for that signing. Honestly.
You might actually go south of I-4.
I might. I don't know. The farthest I've really gone is like Daytona.
Whoa.
I know. I would have to probably go there to get a live IG story for that.
All right, come on down.
Really, only if Florida State's feeling pretty good, though. It might be a pretty disappointing drive down there.
Let's get worked out. We can do an emergency press conference.
Yeah, mark it down. Mark, you get it? Kind of mark it down.
Oh, dear God.
I don't know how to say it. Like mark it down, Mark. Because I'm just saying.
I tried to let it go.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you.
Logan stayed after it, though. He kept trying to fix it.
Stay perfect.
Got a little statistical oddity for anybody who's into statistical oddities, although this is more of a rankings oddity. If anybody noticed that Daughtry Richardson is the 60th rated player in the state of Florida, and Daniel Lyons is number 61. And Daughtry Richardson is the number 449 rated player in the country, and Daniel Lyons is number 450. So there.
Like it.
I was told there'd be no math.
That's all I got for you.
Close, there'd be no math. And now you're bringing math. I don't get it.
You're a smart guy, Jason.
I'm a smart guy, and I did
told us that many times.
I did very well in math.
You've graduated. I haven't graduated.
I know. But I was told there'd be no more math. I'd try to get math.
Yeah. No, but that Florida State still holds on to the number 1 recruiting class in the ACC. We're going to get into a lot of stuff, I know, once we get closer to kickoff with, a lot of other teams like Clemson and what their schedule looks like, and, the situation at depth at quarterback, which I think is a pretty interesting thing. If let's just say there's just not a lot of depth there, and I don't know, we'll see.
But none of this matters if we end up going 6-6 or worse. So let's be happy where we're at right now. But
here comes Negative Nancy. Get them in the comments now.
It's realistic, Ronnie. Get it right.
The boys are going to work here soon. The boys are going to work here.
It's not the Clemson game. It's win the games you're supposed to win. And you should. Okay. I get that you're trying to get page views there, Logan, but you just need to be realistic for a moment. Beat Wake Forest. Beat Louisville. Beat NC State. Just win the games you're supposed to win, and we'll be fine.
We'll see how realistic everybody is when we unveil our predictions to start the season.
Well, some of us have already gone out and put our predictions out there because I'm a man on this one.
Mine are the process of being released right now.
Well, excuse me. Not all of us have MarkRogersTV, the voice of collegefootball.com, or whatever the hell your website is now called.
It's called now.
A long URL. Good God.
So, Jason, I know one thing about Logan is that he loves, once the season's over, the winter workouts where he sees the video, the dudes, lifting weights, loves that. Obviously, spring practice, once they get on the field, loves checking out the video, getting out there himself, scouting the team.
He does.
And now we're only like 10 days away from fall camp, and that's when it really gets serious. You got to get ready for the season. So, Logan, I know you're geeked for that.
Yes.
Jason is too. I think, Jason, are you excited?
I'm excited, but I mean, I want to know: are you going to be out there tailgating? Are you going to be out there like what's the plan right now?
Oh man, we just lost. We lost Mark. We lost our host. Now it's our show, which is very scary for Mark, but we might as well take advantage.
But a serious question: what are you looking forward to the most from fall camp? And we'll talk about it more next week. Next week we'll do a whole preview edition. But like, what are you looking forward to the most heading into the first camp coming up in a couple weeks?
I think a lot of people are excited about the quarterback competition and what that's going to entail. I think the biggest one for me, which is / a concern / I'm excited for, is seeing who's going to be competing to get those 2 starting spots at the cornerback position. I want to see who's going to step up. I'm interested to see if there's going to be a surprise, Jason. 2 surprises, we'll see. But, that is going to be something really fun to cover and watch and kind of get the gist on what Coach Woodson is going to put up there, because you lose Asante Samuel Jr. He's going to do a fantastic job with the Chargers. I think Florida State's going to miss him quite a bit this upcoming year. We'll see. But there is talent there. They just got to figure out who's going to fit the best. I think missing the spring last year didn't help one bit. But you bringing back probably Jerrion Jones. You've got Brownlee. Those 2 were starting at DB whenever we were at the spring scrimmages, but you've also got Miko Dotson that is extremely talented. At one time led the country in interceptions down there at FAU. Comes up here, isn't fully healthy last year, looked pretty good whenever he was in the season, but we'll look forward to seeing himself compete too. And you've got, some other guys like Akeem Dent. Is Akeem Dent a bust or no? We'll see. I mean, this is someone who came in as a 5-star prospect, has dealt with injuries, had a great freshman year. If he would have caught those interceptions too, he would have been, fans would be so excited for him more than, coming up in this upcoming season. But there's a lot of talent that's at cornerback. You just got to figure out who fits where the best.
The first thing you mentioned is kind of interesting when you bring up Jerrion Jones, and I can just use this as an example. Jerrion Jones is the reason we lost the Georgia Tech game. Jerrion Jones, if he either plays defensive back and actually covers his man, he stops Georgia Tech's only touchdown, or if he blocks one of Asante Samuel's interceptions, that's a pick 6 and Florida State wins the game. Who knows if the season ends up somewhat a little bit better than 3-6 at that point. But I guess that's my main concern is and that's what concerns me about these guys coming in. And, not trying to go after Mackenzie Milton here on this one. But when you bring in these transfers, it's like, hey, you've got all these transfers, And then Jerrion Jones is an example of the way you don't want to transfer to play. So that's why I feel like he has the most to prove, because he came in high and mighty. Hey, this guy's coming in as an SEC defensive back, and then we saw what happened after that.
Yeah, no. With Jones, I do think he is going to get a lot of opportunities to start games. It might be first game against Notre Dame. I think that his injury didn't help one bit. And I also do think that, of course, there was mistakes made by him. I'm just not going to be shocked if he's out there against Notre Dame. That wouldn't be a shocker to me. You also got a guy like Brandon Moore who transferred from UCF, great friends, close. Brothers practically with Mackenzie Milton. Played nicely at UCF. Dealt, I believe, ACL injury, knee injury, and then is coming here as another veteran guy and looked pretty good in the spring. Is that a guy that shows out of nowhere? Is that your number 3 option there? It's going to be a Kevin Knowles as a true freshman coming in. Is that a guy who also had a good spring game too? Is that a guy that gets into that rotation? We'll see. We'll see what ends up happening. Does Akeem Dent move from cornerback back to safety? That's safety room is also pretty loaded with some talent there, and Jamie Robinson. But mainly it's those 2 corners I'm looking forward to watching.
Mark, is everything okay? Everything okay on the phone end? You're good to go?
All is good. Absolutely. I am locked in.
Okay.
I haven't missed a word.
Okay. If you just want to put your phone on silent, that'd be great, you know.
Okay.
Just saying. Wow. Sportsmanship.
Just like to wake you boys up every so often.
Okay.
All right. All is good. All is good.
What are you excited about, Jason?
Probably
what is it?
the general optimism. I'm the fact that this is the first time in 4.5 decades that there's nowhere to go but up. You know, we've talked about it, and you can call it a pessimist if you want to, but this was their worst record since 1975. Only one person on your screen right now was alive then, and he was a small child at that point. That's you, Mark.
Yeah, I know. I was just letting you know, very, very small child.
Very small child there. But that's why I feel like there is nowhere to go but up. And James has talked about this before, about how our expectation should be 8 wins, 9 wins, 10 wins. That's what the expectation should be. And I do agree that that's what it should be. But the reality is, 7 wins is what you build on. I think the goal has to be 7 wins this season. If you're 7-5, then you can build on a schedule in 2022 that's a little bit easier. You get Clemson at home that season. You get Florida at home that season. You have to go to a Miami team that will probably lose J.R. King, lose a lot of their guys. You'll go to play LSU in New Orleans. LSU's kind of going downhill a little bit. That's why I feel like there's the nowhere to go but up. That has to be the mindset this season.
Okay. I feel it. What do you think, Mark?
What am I excited about? I'm excited to watch football. I'm excited to hear you boys either. I want to hear, after I watch these games, it's always interesting to get Jason's take versus Logan's take. And when we get Big Game James, hopefully back, to compare the takes on it, because I'll be watching these games. I'm going to watch everybody but Jacksonville State. I'm not watching that game. Other than that, I should be able to catch all of them.
It's realism versus intoxication is what you're saying.
Realism, intoxication.
Realism, intoxication. So, yeah.
What are you reading between the lines, huh?
Pretty much.
That's what you came up with?
Pretty much. That's part of it. Speaking of reading between the lines.
I'm not following that segue. I'm coming up with my own segue because you know what we want? We need people. Has nothing to do, Jason, believe me, with the like button. I know you're fascinated with the like button, and I should be the one that's fascinated with it. But if anybody out there would like to help the Voice of College Football with Florida State postgame, that's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to go into a big explanation. Jeff, if you're interested in postgame at all in regards to finding out what we need here, just hit me up at MarkRogersTV at Gmail. Florida State postgame this fall.
Translation, Logan and I can't do it, so we're just keeping it real here with the job.
Got to have emergency options potentially, because if it's the Notre Dame game, then it's going to be.
Yes.
I don't think the PR that would not be good. That would just not be a good idea.
Well, after you rush the field, when Florida State pulls up.
Whoa, we don't rush fields, and we don't run on Bobby Bowden Field. We all know that. Come on, Jason, you know that, and I'm the youngin' here.
I mean, I did one time, but that's a different.
We're not like our little sister up there in South Carolina. We don't rush the field after beating Jacksonville State.
Or rush the field when you lose by 37 to Florida State. That was my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
That
was fun.
You lost by 37 points and you're still rushing the field. Good job, guys. Good job.
Yeah, they were still on the field while Jameis was down there, and I was wondering, what are you trying to get a picture with them, autograph? What's going on here?
Our fine cohorts in ACC media made their predictions for the season, talking about predictions, and Jason's rolling his eyes because he didn't like them.
I'm rolling my eyes at the
I didn't see them. Okay.
I don't mind them as much. I think Clemson, yes. Clemson, obviously, if we want to just focus on the Atlantic Division, Clemson being number 1, that's a no-brainer. NC State being number 2, I agree with that one. I picked that one. To me, what I get is I'm trying to figure out what the love is for Boston College. I don't get the love for Boston College number 3. I'm not saying Boston College is going to have a bad season. I think they're going to be bowl eligible. I think they go to a bowl game. I don't think they're the 3rd best team in the division. If you want to say Florida State, even if you want to say Wake Forest, I would give you one of those two at the 3 spot. But Boston College being number 3, help me out here with this, Logan. I don't get that one.
Yeah, I don't know. I think we'll have to see a lot. It's hard. It's really hard to judge teams after last season. I think predictions going into this season, I'm not taking fully seriously, except for Mark's. Only Mark's.
The official voice of college football predictions right there. Let me check the ACC. Let me look at Boston College. Third place, huh? You don't think third place?
I don't think third place. I think they're a team that could, and I'm gonna
pull
up. This is live television here, ladies and gentlemen. I'm gonna pull up their schedule before we give you our predictions on September 1st. My predictions right here. Very much.
Yeah. Somebody here is feeling pretty good about them.
Look at Boston College's schedule. They
got a top flight quarterback in Phil Jerkovic. Their position players much better, excellent offensive line.
They have to go to Clemson. They have NC State. I will give them this. Most of their tough games outside of Clemson are at home in Chestnut Hill. So if that's one of the reasons, maybe. But I legit don't see them. And spoiler alert for you, I'll give away my prediction on them. I think they're a 6-6 team. I don't think they can do better than 6-6. I think they're going to hit a rough stretch where they've got Clemson, NC State in back-to-back games.
Okay. So what's the conference record for 6-6? 4-4?
I think 3-5. I think they lose to Clemson. I think they lose to Clemson. I think they lose to NC State. I think they lose to Louisville. I do think they lose to Syracuse, and I think they lose to Florida State. So I think they go 3-5 in the conference.
Let's see what Phil Steele says.
Well, Phil Steele.
I cannot find the ACC anywhere. There it is.
It's the first one.
It's not in his magazine. That's why I was saying I can't find it because it's not in order. He starts with the SEC. Boy, there's so much information in this thing. It's ridiculous to try to figure out. I'll be with you they went 6-5 last year. Where's his final record? This may take me like 45 minutes. We'll get to it. Anyway, I got an Athlons around here. I was just going to kind of compare. But we have yet to unveil our Boston College prediction.
I just did.
The voice of college football, but it's coming.
Unveiled mine. I literally just unveiled my prediction.
You did.
The only prediction.
I did not.
It's the only prediction you need. Jason Parker's prediction is gold. It's gold, Jerry. It's gold. But I'm asking Logan a question. I'm putting Logan on the spot right now.
Oh my God.
Logan, lowgameday.com.
Yep.
Who does Clemson beat in the ACC championship game? Translation, I don't think any team could beat Clemson. But do you think it's going to be North Carolina? Do you think it's going to be Miami? Or are you taking the field? I went on the record and said last week I think it's going to be Miami. Are you going Heels? Are you going Canes? Or are you taking one of the other 5 jokers from that division?
If it was going to be anybody to give them some competition in the ACC, it would probably be to me. I would go North Carolina. I think a lot of this is going to have to rely on Miami's defense and also Derek King. 2 of those have got to work pretty well this upcoming season in order for them to have some success on the field. So that's what I'm I'm feeling more North Carolina than anything. I know that North Carolina did lose some talent there at wide receiver, running back, but they still have Sam Howell who can zip the ball. He'll be one of the best quarterbacks this upcoming year. So I'd probably say North Carolina over Miami for the best team to compete with Clemson to take that throne in the ACC, to be honest.
Do you think that game on October 9th between the Canes, do you think that the Canes-Tar Heels game will be the game that decides the Coastal Division, or do you think there's going to be some other factors at play?
For right now, going into the season, I'd predict that. I don't think it has to be that matchup. Yeah. I'm like trying to circle around and see what other matchups are going on for each team, but I don't have their schedules on me. But I would think that would also be a big time game. They're going to hype it up to be that, but we'll see if Miami doesn't screw up a game before then. I forget whenever I don't know what week they play.
They play the 9th, and obviously before that they play Virginia. Before that they have their blowout loss to Alabama, followed by Michigan State, Appalachian State, Central Connecticut Technical University and Trade School. They have all great powerhouses after they lose to Alabama. But here's what we're going to do, folks. This is the producer world. This is old school Jason Parker producer world. let's buy some time so that Mark can find this. So, Logan, while we're finding time, why don't you take a minute and a half and tell us why we should hit the like button?
You should hit the like button it just makes you feel better inside, to be honest. It makes you feel nice and warm. It makes you feel cozy. It makes you feel rest assured that Florida State is going to have a healthy fall camp. You want Florida State to have a fall camp, hitting the like button will do that. It's one of the biggest things you want to have because sadly, for every team, there's always something that just doesn't go fully right in a fall camp. So if you want Florida State to have a full, healthy camp coming up here in about a week and a half, really less than a week and a half now, you just have to hit the like button. Plus, also, if you hit the subscribe button, then, you get notified whenever new episodes drop, and got to hit the bell, though, too. But would definitely appreciate it if y'all smack that like button up there. It's pretty low today. Not a lot of people on. Not a lot of people getting ready for fall camp, really, with us. See, now I don't know what's going on. Well, maybe, I don't know.
Did you make It's a Wonderful Life reference?
I don't know what that is.
I'm doubting that.
I don't know what that is.
It's a great movie. It comes on every Christmas Eve on television.
Yeah, it was produced in, I believe, 1946. I'm not thinking that Logan.
Just a little before our time.
Just a little bit
before everybody's, but I know it's famous. But do you know what It's a Wonderful Life is, Logan? Do you know that movie? You heard of it?
I just heard the saying, maybe.
Okay.
You have to have seen It's a Wonderful Life one time.
Maybe.
It is shown by, it was big enough, Logan, that NBC at one point, am I correct, Jason, bought the rights to it and had exclusive rights, and it could not be shown by anybody else for years and years and years.
Every Christmas Eve, followed by your late local news at 11 o'clock.
I think so.
And then 11:35, it's the Mass from the Vatican.
Yeah, we've fallen off the rails. We're going to lose everybody else that we've got in here at this point. Anyway, Athlons, by the way, says that BC is going to go 7-5, 4-4 in the ACC. Well, and Phil Steele, his publication is so jam-packed with info. It's like crazy. It's great, but it's impossible to find like one.
So give us your
nugget of information. My prediction is I've released my Virginia, Michigan State, Oregon, a few other teams. I've released about 5 or 6 videos. Then all this expansion realignment business blew up a couple days ago. And that's all I've been, when I'm going to get like 27,000 views on one of those videos, that's what people are talking about. That's what they want. So I've been doing nothing but like expansion talk, but we're going to get back on the predictions, maybe late night tonight. Maybe I'll do the Boston College prediction tonight.
Can we speak on expansion for one moment? Because I need to give a message to the viewers. This one especially goes out to my friend Myron from the Marlins game, who has this notion that Florida State should join the SEC. Myron's argument was that Florida State should join the SEC if the SEC offers, because Missouri was able to make it to the SEC championship game in, I believe it was their second year, and Texas A&M has succeeded. Myron, and to any one of you who thinks that we should do that, no. We can't even win the ACC at this rate. You think we're going to go and get butchered in the SEC? I'm sorry. Oklahoma and Texas are leaving for a money move. Let's be honest. This is a money move. And I think the SEC, I'm going to call it right now, I think the SEC is trying to make a power play to eventually leave the NCAA. I think that's their next big power play, big-time money move. Florida State needs to stay in the ACC, get better before even thinking about it. If this was the Florida State 2014, 2013, maybe we could have that conversation. Florida State 2021 has no business even getting near the SEC. No business.
Yeah, not ready for it yet.
No.
Take a little while. 3 years, 3 or 4 years.
They're all money moves.
Oh, absolutely.
Let's understand that. So we will see if things have settled and if it's just going to stay Texas, Oklahoma to the SEC. Obviously, the Big 12, they're either going to add quickly or they're going to obviously drift off to other conferences, or some of these crazy power play moves by the Big 10 and the ACC and the Pac-12 that are being rumored out there. Now, that would completely blow up college football as we now know it, make it look like the National Football League, with basically rip apart the regionalization of the sport. We're hearing things like, as you know, Jason, like the Big Ten grabbing USC and UCLA.
I don't see any of that happening. I can legitimately see if we're going to be honest here, I can see the last 8 teams left in the Big 12 conference. I can see them splitting up amongst the 4. I can see Oklahoma and Texas going to the SEC. I can see 4 of the teams going to the Pac-12, 2 teams each going to the ACC and the Big Ten, and then you've got 4 major 16-team conferences. Do I agree that's the way it should be? No, but I think that you can start to see that we're going down that road, that the ACC is going to have more schools that are nowhere near the Atlantic coast. That's where we're going to end up. We're going to end up with West Virginia and Iowa State if we don't play our cards right, or West Virginia and Baylor or something like that. Schools nowhere near the Atlantic coast is what's going to end up in the ACC at some point.
I believe I was here last week making the call of what the ACC should do. Go to Florida, Orlando, UCF. That should be one move right there. And then the other one is Notre Dame.
Notre Dame's not going to join.
Pull them in.
You send Notre Dame packing to the Big Ten. You send Notre Dame, say bye, go to the Big Ten, go play in the Big Ten West, get your butt kicked by Ohio State every single year in the Big Ten title game, and let the ACC focus on. I would not mind UCF. At this rate, I would not mind UCF. And I don't like the idea of West Virginia coming in, but at this rate, if that's the option you got to take it. Logan, what are your thoughts?
There's a question here from 21 that just got put in here. Hey, Jason, what do you think about this horrible coach we have named Norvell and the consistent recruits that keep committing after a 3-6 season?
I'm sorry, what was that record?
After a 3-6 season, that's the point of it here. The success that's happening after a 3-6 season.
We're cheering recruiting. Meanwhile, the performance on the field was 3-6. Got it. Okay, cool. Got it, Twitter fans. Go ahead, do your thing. Cheer
one season, one completely obliterated, interrupted season that was only 9 games. It wasn't 12 games. We know what happened last season, Jason. You got to admit that. It's not an excuse, but it's reality.
You don't have to. Hold on. No.
Let me finish. Any first-year coach in college football last year had a huge disadvantage. First-year coaches have a big challenge anyway, because 9 times out of 10, they're taking over bad teams, because that's the reason they're a first-year coach, number one. Number two, let me finish. Number two, in this particular situation, so there's a difficulty in taking over a team for the first time. You're taking over a bad team. Number two, it's the first year. You're trying to change the culture, the environment, terminology, offense and defense, new coaching staff. The players have to get used to the coaches. Everything's different, and you got to do that in an off season. Okay, last year was not a normal off season where they could do that in person.
Last year, Mark,
there is a huge difficulty there in trying to implement all that during a pandemic when you cannot meet with your team face to face.
We've literally spent the last year. And I love both of you to death. I would give you both a kidney if you needed one. Like, then I'd be screwed because I wouldn't have any. I'd give one of you a kidney, the first one who needs one.
Yeah.
I'm Logan. I'm looking right at you.
Yeah.
Both of you have spent this last year making I'm sorry, I'm going to say it like this. Both of you have spent this last year making every excuse possible for Mike Norvell. Yes, I agree with you. Go ahead, mute me because I'm right. You're sitting here making every excuse possible when, I'm sorry, you were one of the most critical people in the world when it came to Willie Taggart. And I'm sorry, Willie Taggart did not once have a 3-6 season. I'm not saying Willie Taggart was ready. I've been critical of Willie Taggart's time in Tallahassee. He was not ready to be the coach at Florida State. I will say that. And I think he'd be the first person to admit it, that he was not ready at that time to be the coach at Florida State. But you guys are making excuses for a coach when his performance has not equaled the expectation. Right?
I'm not. You act like he's been coaching for 5 years. He had one 9-game football season.
So I guess
and Willie Taggart took over a much better roster than he did.
Got it. Oh, much better. They needed a makeup game against Louisiana Monroe just to be bowl eligible. Okay, got it, Mark. They needed a makeup game against Louisiana and Monroe, or else they would not have been bowl eligible.
Willie Taggart's first season was what, 2018, correct?
Correct.
Therefore, the players on that roster were from the classes of 2018, 17, 16, and 15. So he had seniors on that team that finished in the top 10 in the nation. He had juniors on that team that finished in the top 10 in the nation.
Brian Burns was the best person on that 2018 team. I'll say it. Brian Burns was an amazing player on that 2018 team.
They had a better roster when Willie Taggart took over than they did for Mike Norvell. I'm not excusing Mike Norvell. I'm not saying he did a great job. I'm just saying give him a full season at least. And last season, again, there was a reason they only played 9 games. There was a reason Arizona State only played 4 games. There was a pandemic. He couldn't even meet with his team from the time he took over from the time they interrupted spring practice with they got 3 workouts in.
I was in this house for an entire year working from home. Please tell me more about this pandemic, Mark.
There was a pandemic.
Please.
You're going to have to go online and look up the term pandemic to get the definition. But what happened was people could not make personal contact with one another. Therefore, it's difficult to play football under those circumstances. Therefore, it's difficult to practice football under those circumstances.
You've interrupted me, and I have not interrupted you. Mark, today, weeks before I absolutely have. Mark, we're sitting here making excuses for a 3-6 coach. And I'm sorry. I do not have anything to call against Mike Norvell. He is a nice guy. What I have personal with is the fact, and I'm sorry, I'm going to throw Logan under the bus. I love you, buddy, but I'm going to throw you under the bus here on this one. We've got a group of fans who are sitting here praising a recruiting class, which is great. Our recruiting class looks good. If it's the number 8 national class come early signing day in December, be 100% happy about that. But here's what happens. Let's say we lose to Wake Forest. Let's just say, worst case scenario, that we go into that North Carolina game with a 2-3 record. How many of those recruits are still going to be there? There's a certain point where you have to just be honest and say the performance on the field matters. If we go into that North Carolina game 5-1, or excuse me, go into that North Carolina game 4-1, all praises to Saint Mike. I'll cornrow my hair. I'll grow it out. I'll cornrow my hair if we end up with a 10-win season this year. But it's not going to happen. We just have to be realistic.
Well, we know that.
Do you? I think you called for a 10-win season 1 week.
I never did. No, I'm not that drunk. I couldn't even be on 24-pack of a Natty Ice right here in order for that to happen.
You may have been intoxicated at that point. I don't know.
No, I think there's a lot of. I think Norvell. There was definitely some things last year that had some question marks, but a lot of it too was defensively. I think there's a lot of strides happening on the offense. You also, looking back too, James Blackman was not the answer. So Norvell had to switch around and find a quarterback answer immediately. And it happened to be Jordan Travis. And that worked out pretty well, but still you didn't really have a passing attack. You're able to upgrade the offensive line and move to number 18th nationally and rushing offense. Mm-hmm. And so, that was just such and no spring really to work from. You had 3 practices, 1 day of pads, and then you're instantly into a lockdown. And as we know, too, Mike Norvell has done a lot of getting some clutter out of that locker room that was much, much needed, as we are finding out later on. As time moves on, you look at an NFL draft, which your 2 top players coming into that year didn't even get drafted in the NFL draft. It just seemed to be more of a headache in that locker room than anything. And, I think there was a lot of problems that Mike Norvell had to initially go in with, and he understood that. But it seems like they've kind of cleaned house now, and that they're trying to build that momentum. And we'll see. They've got to look competitive and such. But I don't think it's so negative like Jason may be doing.
I wish I'd take that buyout money. I'd take a percentage of that buyout money in a heartbeat. There, stop. Taggart is a joker coach, right? He also didn't have a 3-win season. You guys are sitting here praising. I'm not saying you guys. I'm not saying Mark. I'm not saying Logan. You guys.
I never praised Mike Norvell. I just said let's wait and see. Mark,
you're interrupting me.
Have
now.
I ever praised Mike Norvell? No, I have not praised him. I have just said let's wait and let him coach a team and build a program.
Can I start interrupting you again? It was a lot more fun when I can do that. Can I start showing you some disrespect? Thank you very much. The point that I'm getting at is you're praising a guy who was 3-6.
I never praised him. I said give him a chance.
So what
That's
happens?
all I said.
So if we go, let me ask you a question, legitimate question. Then let's say the bottom falls out this season, which I don't want to happen. I hope that we go 7-5, 8-4. I legitimately hope that.
I think duh. But I think you're more entertained by the other way around.
I want to hear from both of you right now. Will both of you call for Norvell to be fired if we have a losing season?
Losing season.
No,
Probably
you won't.
not.
It can't happen.
Not after 1 year and a few games. And don't compare it to Willie Taggart, because I didn't make the decision about Willie Taggart. I was here. I've said this 85 times. I would not have fired Willie Taggart. I would not have hired Willie Taggart. So I wouldn't have had to fire him, because I would have never hired the man, because he never proved anything that showed that he should be coaching at Florida State. But he should not have been fired.
I agree with you.
So I'm not holding Mike Norvell to the Willie Taggart standard and going if he goes, how do the numbers line up? If he goes 6-6 this year, he's got Willie Taggart's record. Therefore, we're going to fire him. No, I think that's stupid. It doesn't make any sense. You deal with the situation as it stands right now.
I have agreed with you, and I've said before that I don't think that if Florida State does finish 6-6 and he does have a 9-12 record, I agree with you. I think you should get 3 seasons to fully change it, to fully change and get everything in your mold. That being said, once you fired a coach after 21 games, that set a new standard. And if that's the standard, what I'm saying is if you're going to go by that standard for one, you have to hold every coach. I don't care about a pandemic.
No, you don't.
You have to.
You don't have to do that. You can say we made a mistake. We made a mistake hiring. Of course, they're not going to say that, but we made a rash decision. That doesn't mean you can. If you set a bad standard, that doesn't mean you don't correct it later and continue setting yourself against a bad standard. That would not be brilliant. That if you make a mistake, you say, well, we set a standard, so we're going to just continue to make the same mistake because we set a precedent.
I should have bought the trademark to MarkRogersTV, the voice of college football. Then I could just, then I have my own.
So let me just put this into one more perspective.
Yeah.
If you purchase a horrible company, let's say you're a CEO and you purchase a company and that company's struggling, it's horrible. And you have to hire all these people. You also take on the personnel that's already in the company, and you're in the middle of a pandemic. You can't talk to them, only by Zoom. You can't actually go to the workplace and deal with them. You have all these liabilities, and you don't think that's going to restrict you. And we're talking about football playing. We're talking about a physical job that you can't do over a phone.
I'm willing to give the benefit of the doubt that last year was a much different year. That being said, I'm not going to sit here and praise the off-season moves, which are good. I will say that they are good moves, but I'm not going to sit here like some people and jump up and down and say everything's better, everything is awesome, everything is great, when right now we are 3-6. Right now we are coming off a 3-6 season. That's the numbers that I'm looking at. I don't give a damn about the number 8 class on July 28th. I don't give a damn about the number 1 ranked class in the ACC on July 28th, because right now the two numbers that matter are we're coming off our worst season in 45 years. I'm not happy about it, but that's just the fact. And I'm sorry, if some fans don't want to accept that fact, that's not my problem. We are coming off our worst season, except that we are not the Florida State team that we were 5 years ago, 6 years ago, 2013 national title team. We are not that same Florida State team. Can we get back there? Yes, I absolutely believe that. I believe that we can get back to that point. And I do believe that Mike Norvell, I believe, if given a chance, has that chance to get back there. What I've said is if we have a 500 or worse record this year, you have to just be honest. You already set the standard. Then you look hypocritical. I agree with you, Mark, that Florida State should come out and say, we screwed up the way we handled the situation. They're not going to. But Florida State should come out and say, we screwed up with the way we handled it. If you want to say we screwed up with hiring him, that's fine. But you have to admit it and move on. Otherwise, you look hypocritical.
I will state one more time, very briefly, what I would have done with Willie Taggart. had I inherited the situation and he was working for me, and they went, they were he went 5-7, then he was 4-6.
4-5.
4-5, 9-12 with 3 games left in the season.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. I would have let him finish out that season, and most likely they would have gone 5, and they had what left? Florida,
Boston College, Alabama State, and Florida. So they would have gone 6-6. I think they would have gone 6-6, which is what they ended up going.
You think they would have beaten Boston College regardless?
Yeah.
6-6, I believe, would have been a nice little finish to the season, because BC was a bowl eligible type team. They were a decent team. And then they lose to Florida. That's understandable, top 10 team. And let's say they go 6-6. Well, certainly, even if they would have lost the 2 games out of 3 and gone 5-7, I would have retained Willie Taggart and given him one more season and given him pretty clear, definitive upgrades that were needed. Now, I wouldn't have held him to you got to go 8-4, and if you go 7-5, you're fired. But I would have said that's kind of the context of where you're at. There are mitigating circumstances and conditions we'll look at, injuries and other things, losing, if you take Clemson to the wire and you play really well in some losses, there are some things that we'll look at. But basically, I want to see an upgrade to 7-5, 8-4, and you can retain your job. But you're on the hot seat. This is your year. That's how I would have handled it.
So what would you say, from your expert opinion, what would you say Mike Norvell should do this season to get a third year? Because I'm sorry, whether you want to say or not, yes, last season was a weird year for everyone, but that was still technically his first season at Florida State. He went 3-6. What does he have to do this season to guarantee, and I think Logan said this before, they're not going to fire him. They can't buy out 2 straight coaches. But what would you say, if you were the athletic director, what would you say is your benchmark number that he has to reach this season?
And before I answer that, Jason, how many times I said that they didn't play well last year. I never said that. I never tried to dress up their 3-6. I didn't think they were a good football team at all.
I wasn't talking to you. I was talking about a certain other person.
They played one remarkable game last year.
The third person, right?
I never said that either. They looked amazing.
What is your number, Mark?
You're not going to like the first thing out of my mouth, Jason, but I'm going to explain it anyway. They play the toughest schedule in the ACC, and it's not even close.
Yeah, I agree.
They do. If he goes 6-6 this year, he's definitely staying if I'm running the show.
Yeah.
And I think
absolutely.
I think 6-6 is realistic, judging by the way last season went, because I can see us losing a game we shouldn't lose to a team like a Louisville or Syracuse. I can see us playing that way. I think the best case scenario right now, I'm going to stick with 7-5. I think if we're 7-5, I think that's the best case scenario. And that's including, I think, beating Florida and losing to one of those teams you should beat.
The 5 games that we've all pinpointed as we're going to be overwhelming underdogs for, I would like to see only maybe 2 blowouts, and then pull off one of those would be phenomenal. Yeah. Beat one of those teams, and then the other 2 be extremely competitive.
Yeah, it's and we talked about this. If they lose to Notre Dame, I never thought I'd say this, but if they lose to Notre Dame by between 10 and 14 points, I think a lot of Florida State fans will leave by downfield that night happy. I know Logan will. I know I will. It's like saying, okay, there's starting to be progress.
Mm-hmm. Mike Norvell, looking back at his time at Memphis, isn't really used to losing that much. I mean, he starts off at Memphis, and he was given a good team too, and being previously ran very well. So you start off in that stance, and I think he starts off the season 8-5. He goes 10-3 the next year. 8-6 was his worst season at Memphis, but then goes and turns it around and goes 12-2, wins another 4 games. And it goes to really show what a terrible dumpster fire that Florida State was in when he arrived at FSU. That's the reason why he made so many damn changes everywhere. I mean, it wasn't just on the coaching staff, but it was everywhere. And the booster room We're talking about getting all your high school director relations. Those got swiped and brought in with new staff members. It just goes to show, and also the players that he wanted nothing to do with anymore. And it makes sense. I mean, what Marvin Wilson did, I think a lot of FSU fans will agree with me, wasn't the smartest move by what was going to be your veteran leader. And look where he's at, not even hearing about him anymore up there with the Cleveland Browns, which my Steelers will absolutely annihilate this upcoming year. Najee Harris will probably, if Marvin Wilson gets to see a little bit of playing time in the fourth quarter with 2 minutes left, he's just going to get stuffed into the end zone for a touchdown by Harris. But
didn't the Browns beat the Steelers in the playoffs last year?
Yeah, congrats. They got a win there, and off of our
Don't you
team
want-
that
don't you want to
was
see
the
them?
longest winning streaks in
Yeah, don't you undefeated?
NFL history.
11-0 at one point, I think.
Yeah, it was nice. That was more fun than winning a. Well, I don't know.
No.
We'll see. We'll see. It was extremely fun having going 11 weeks. Well, more than that, being a winner and never being a loser. But I'm glad the Bucks were able to celebrate and enjoy their good time. But
No, we don't praise the Bucks here.
oh no, I'm glad that it was fun while that lasted. That'll do it for them.
Look, I want us to succeed. I really do. I will be there cheering us on with my Knoll game day hat if I ever get one for the Notre Dame game. I will be cheering on the Knolls. There's just has to be that level of realism. And that's all I'm saying to the fans. And we've got a lot of fans here, a lot of keyboard warriors hating on me. That's fine. I don't care what you say. I don't care. My opinion. You have your own. I have my opinion.
Jason, I'm going to make one comment. You may not like it, but I just want to basically make sure of something here.
Go for it.
I just want to make sure that you are not taking out the injustice that you believe that was wielded on Willie Taggart out on Mike Norvell.
No.
He had nothing to do with it.
It has nothing to do with that. My and it's even not so much something to do with Mike Norvell. I would say this about any coach who came into the situation. Yes, things were going downhill during Willie Taggart's time in Tallahassee. I will 100% agree with that. We came in, and it's the same thing. Once when Jimbo Fisher left and Willie Taggart came in, we're like, oh, we're going to be better, we're going to be better, and we weren't. Well, Mike Norvell came in, everyone said, oh, we're going to be fine, we're going to be fine, and we actually finished with a worse record. I'm somebody who just goes by the numbers. The fact is we had a worse record last season than we did in the 2 years under Willie Taggart. You can use whatever circumstances you want to. I understand, I get it, but that's just the matter of the fact, is that we had the worst record last season than we've had since 1975. That's where our program is right now. Do I think we're going to be better this season? Absolutely. I think we're going to be light years better. And I think if we do have a better record, if we have a winning record, I think that Mike Norvell should be praised for doing that. If we don't have a 6-6 record or better, I want you guys to bring that same venom that you have brought towards your support for him. I want it to turn into that venom. I want Logan to feel that venom. I want to see it come out of him towards Mike Norvell if we go 5-7 this season. Let the hate go through you.
You would love that. You would be loving that.
I want you to just be realistic. I also want to say thank you to TFJ Boxing.
TFJ Boxing with nothing to say, just wants to support. TFJ Boxing, thank you so much for that. Appreciate that so much.
I think someone comment on here real quick. I mean, the locker room to me, I think, is fine. I don't think that's a problem anymore. It was about, I'd say 20-80, and those 20 are no longer allowed or been advised to leave the program. And here we are. We're fine. Good to go. Clean house, ready to rock. And guess what? What's going to happen now is you've got a class that's just Mike Norvell's is now in that locker room, and then you got another one, and it just starts washing away what Mike Norvell doesn't like in that locker room. But right now, I think things have been settled, or you're just not going to be with the program, and you're going to have some players. You look at Jane Lars Woodby, who was a starter on defense, no longer with the team. He's going to maybe that's what will make Boston College fantastic this upcoming season. I predict no.
I was about to say, please don't.
I predict no, but that's just
attack him. The man graduated college in 2.5 years. It's taking you 5, and you're still there, bro. Please do not attack Jalen.
Well, I'm just saying though, his play on the field wasn't fantastic, but at least it's good in the locker room. I mean, in the in the classroom.
Are you really?
Yeah. Anybody that has any intelligence of watching film knows about the horrendous angles that are being ran and the awful takes he's taken at running backs and guys coming up down the middle.
Right. And you were a hater on him the whole time, right? You didn't praise him at all?
Well, there was a few times just had a horrible last. He didn't play good last year. Let's be realistic. For being realistic, didn't play good last year.
Do you write down your comments so that you can backtrack against them later, or how do you do this?
You just clip this and we go back and look at it.
Great, got it. Cool.
We'll record this.
Oh, Lamar Jackson tested positive for COVID.
Yeah, and Ravens. I mean, thought they'd be good last year, but
went further in the playoffs than your Steelers.
So before we get to the hot takes portion of this show, I want to give Logan the opportunity, both of you the opportunity, but Logan in particular, with Noel Game Day, is I want people to appreciate that Logan's here every week breaking down Florida State football. He's got his own thing going with Noel Game Day, and he's still over here repping. Even fixed my mic the other day, clarified my mic issues. So, Logan, let people know where they can catch up with Noel Game Day and all the stuff that you guys have going.
Jason said he's been thinking about getting the Discord yet. He hasn't even said that he'll get in there yet, but that's the now he definitely doesn't want to do it after today. You know, we're getting close to football season when Willie Taggart's back in the conversation. It was dry for like about 3 months. I'll give it that. But now that Willie Taggart's back in the conversation, we know that fall camp is here. Football season has officially begun here on the Mark Rogers FSU show. But practically, we've got Chris Parson, 2023 FSU quarterback, coming live with us tonight because we had to move our show to tonight at 8:30 because of the NBA draft that we'll be going live for tomorrow to see where Scotty Barnes gets picked. But other than that, we're dropping tons and tons of goodies inside of the Discord at patreon.com/Noel Game Day. Highly suggest you guys get in there. Only $2.99 a month, and you get a lot of good benefits. And I actually come on here and talk and discuss other things that we really don't share in writing, but we'll talk about it. That's a little bit more secretive, but patreon.com/Noel Game Day. It's starting to get crazy. You're definitely going to be in there for fall camp, most certainly.
And I know you're going to be rooting for Willie Taggart that first game of the season, September 4th, when FAU plays Florida. You will clearly, all your venom towards Willie will turn around, and you will be screaming for the Taggart train.
Oh, it's going to be awesome. I'm going to be pulling for him. You know, really what he did, it seemed to work out here in Tallahassee. And, you know, a lot of FSU fans, I don't know, they're definitely going to be rooting against Florida. We would love to see Willie kind of just go all out and make an upset there to start off the season, get Dan Mellon ready for the NFL and wherever he's going to go and have an awful year like Urban Meyer's going to have this upcoming season. Whoa. But, yeah, I'm throwing a lot of shade at everybody tonight. We got to get warmed up.
Meanwhile,
hold on. I'm willing to skip my hot take. I apologize. I'm willing to skip my hot take if Logan is willing to hot take it up right now. Logan, are you calling for Dan Mullen to leave Florida for an NFL job?
I wouldn't be shocked if he and Mark probably would agree that he's already had a few talks and maybe been interested in NFL. I think he's had even interviews or has had solid chats.
Are you calling it? Are you calling for it?
If he doesn't have a good year this year, then I'm sure it wouldn't last much longer before he's gone out of Gainesville. I mean, his right now, and the thing is, if FSU is doing pretty well and the recruiting momentum, because Dan Mullen is a fantastic coach, one of the best college football coaches there is, offensive minded, but you know, recruiting wise is just not his forte. He's just not that great at it. And right now, Mug Norvell's up and doing his thing. Miami's got to have a good season too in order for them to keep doing things. But I think Dan Mullen is to me better an NFL route than what he's doing right now. We'll see, but his defense also has got to be a lot better too this upcoming year.
21, I will be at a couple other games this year. I'll get him for a hot thing.
Willie Taggart gets fired at the years.
He'll be the Charlie Weiss. He'll get payouts from every school.
Jason left one coach off the list of Florida coaches with Florida ties coaching that first game because, of course, Jimbo Fisher is going up against the mighty Golden Flashes of Kent State.
Well, they're rooting for Kent State in that one. Obviously.
Big matchup there.
We should do a post-game show for that one.
That would be exhilarating. I bet so many people are going to be watching that.
You bet.
Be staying tuned for it. Are you giving your hot take, Jason?
I'm not even going to lie. This one's a warm take. Sometimes I bring my A game. Sometimes I just mail it in. This one feels like I mailed it in. I'm really tired.
Thanks for letting everyone know that you're going to mail it in.
I'm just being honest because I figure you guys are going to attack it no matter what. But I'm going to go with a bold. It's kind of a bold prediction there on this one. For the second straight season, a certain team will want to join the ACC full time because for the second straight regular season, Notre Dame goes undefeated against their ACC opponents. Last season, they went 10-0 in the regular season, technically won the ACC's regular season, and advanced the ACC championship game in their first and only year in the conference. I think they win all 5 of their games this year. They play Florida State, they play Virginia Tech, North Carolina, Virginia, and Georgia Tech. I think they win all 5. Logan is shaking his head. Is he calling for an ACC upset?
Yeah, I don't think so. I think because of primarily just number one of them introducing a new quarterback that hasn't had any college experience yet.
So
I think that right there is there's going to be a mistake in which one of these games, either if it is going to be, if it is, let's just, fingers crossed, that would be magical. But if it is in Doak Campbell Stadium, 80,000 at nighttime, absolutely going insane. Something that this new cat is he's never experienced before. Or if it's a game where, North Carolina is at Notre Dame at 7:30 o'clock, or they're at Virginia Tech.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I just feel like as you're introducing a new quarterback, I would say more to me. I think he's going to take an L somewhere.
Okay. Khalil Young, can we answer this question? I'll answer mine. Louisville. I'd trade Louisville. I've said this. I would send Louisville. Let Louisville go over to the Big 12. Them and West Virginia can do their thing in the Big 12. That's something. You want to trade Louisville, give me UCF, we'd be in the same division with them, I'd take that.
Our guy Khalil Young with the super chat. Thank you so much for that. Who would you guys trade in conference for Notre Dame, UCF, and West Virginia? Meaning we got to lose 3 teams to take those 3 on? Is that what he's saying here? Or lose 1 to go to 16?
I think he was saying which one would you get out of that group, and who would you trade? Like, would you trade Louisville for West Virginia? Would you trade Miami,
sure,
UCF, something like that?
I'll take Notre Dame.
Okay. Who would you get rid of?
UCF would be the second selection there for me. I'm maintaining as much regional flavor to the ACC as possible. Syracuse is doing nothing for me. I'm a football-minded guy. You're not asking me to run the entire conference, basketball and other sports. So I'm kicking out Syracuse. Bye.
Why not Boston College then?
Better football program.
Still not the best in the Atlantic Division.
Huh. Never know.
What about you, Sunshine? Who you got?
If we were going to kick someone out?
Yeah. He's going to say Miami. He's going to kick out Miami.
If you're kicking them out of the conference overall, I was going to say you got to keep Duke for basketball. I'd probably say Louisville for basketball, too. I'd like to keep them. Don't give it – I mean – maybe Syracuse too. You keep them for basketball, maybe. But
if you're thinking both sports, then you kick out BC. But I'm a football guy.
Yeah.
So.
Then I'd probably just, if it was just football, and basketball wasn't involved, then I'd just say goodbye to like Duke or whatever. I don't really even think about them when it comes to football season. Like sometimes I don't really. Cutcliffe just doesn't do it for me. He had that great season in 2013, but you can only go so far.
I mean, I fired their coach a couple weeks ago, but yeah.
I'd keep Boston College so I can go to games up there in Boston. Just for that tonight. I wouldn't go to a Duke game.
So you won't come to Miami, but you'll go to Boston. Got it. Okay.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Not there's some interesting things going on down there. And I think and you're the number one down there, the interesting things.
Boston's a nice town. I like Boston.
Beautiful place.
I wouldn't go there past like mid to late October. Make the September, early October trip. Well, it's still beautiful. All right. Yes.
For the record, I love both of you guys. You're both wrong about
Jason, you're amazing. We have you here for a reason, Jason. We can't agree on everything, so
we should start that.
Did you hear what he said? He said, Jason, we didn't hear what you said at the second half of that.
And I quote, you're wrong about Norvell, but I love you both. That's what I said. We can agree and disagree. That's all. We agree and disagree.
How can I be wrong about saying let's give a guy a chance? How can that be wrong? All right. Logan Robinson, Noel Game Day, Jason Parker, NBC6. It's our Florida State Seminoles live show for a 117th time. And we will be back here, God willing, Wednesday at 6 Eastern next week.
Yes.